Okay, today we're going to talk about solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Again, just like yesterday, this is a little bit of a review because we've done this before. However, today we're going to have imaginary roots. Please make sure that you take out a piece of paper if you chose not to print out these notes. So, a quick review. Your quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the big square root, big b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So to use the quadratic formula, again, this is a review. First, make sure the equation is in standard form, which is your ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Off to the side, I would suggest you list your a, b, and c values. Remember, those are the numbers, not letters, so do not write x with them or x squares. Then you're going to plug those values into the formula, simplify using the order of operations. The number inside the radical will be negative, so you have to take out an I. That's the only thing that's different this time around. So if we look at the first example, first, make sure it's equal to 0. It is. So off to the side, list your A, your B, and your C. A is 2, B is 4, C is 7. I would get in the habit of writing down the formula so you accidentally memorize it. Then we're going to plug in our values, negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared minus 4, 2, 7, all over 2 times 2. For those of you that hate to do math, you can cheat and type this in your calculator exactly as I wrote it. If you do that, you get negative 40. Somehow I got the eraser there. Negative 40 over 4. And now we're going to simplify. As soon as I see a negative under the radical, that means an I comes out. If I see radical 40, the factors I'm thinking are 4 times 10. The square root of 4 is 2, so that becomes 2 radical 10. So now this becomes negative 4 plus or minus 2i radical 10 over 4. And the final step, I know that something goes into 4, 4, and 2, so I'm going to divide each of those terms by 2. And that is my final answer. Okay, the next example. First thing I want to do is check, is it equal to 0? It is. So off to the side, I'm going to list my A, my B, in this case, don't be fooled, it's really negative 1, and my C, which is positive 1. We're going to write down the formula. The more you write it, the better chance you have of accidentally memorizing it. Now we're going to plug in our values. So I have negative b, that's negative negative 1, plus or minus. Negative 1 squared minus 4, 3, 1, over 2 times 3. Now I'm going to simplify a little bit. 2 negatives become a positive. And again, we can cheat on our calculator, and we can do this part here in the calculator as written. And that is going to become, do not type in the square root sign. That's going to become negative 11 over 6. Now, if I look at this, as soon as I see a negative under a radical, I make it positive and put an I out front. So that becomes 1 plus or minus I radical 11 over 6. The last step is to look, does anything go into 1, 1, and 6? Since nothing does, that is my answer. Okay, next example. If I look at this, first thing I notice is that it is equal to 0. However, it is missing a term. Technically, this is x squared plus 0x plus 9 equals 0. So here when I list my A, my B, and my C, A is in front of the x squared. There is no B because there's no x term here in the original. And my C is the plain number. A lot of kids mess up and they don't put the B value as 0. So again, we write down the formula. I know it's annoying. The more you write it, the better chance you have of memorizing it. We're going to plug in our values. Now we have 0 plus or minus. Again, for those of you that hate thinking and doing math, you can cheat and type that in your calculator. You're going to, without the radical sign, you're going to get negative 36 over 2. Again, when you see a negative under a radical and I comes out, I also know the square root of 36 is 6. So this becomes 0 plus or minus 6i over 2. And the final step, does anything go into 0, 6, and 2? Technically, you can divide all of them by 2. So it's 0 plus or minus 3i. You could put that over 1. You do not have to. And the last example that we're going to work with, the first thing I notice is that it's not equal to 0. So we always want to make sure that our squared term is positive. So I'm moving the 2 terms on the right to the left. Off to the side, I'm going to list my A, my B, and my C. I'm going to write down the formula. I'm going to plug in what I know. I'm going to simplify. Again, you can type this part into the calculator exactly as it's written. And 4 minus 8, negative 4 over 4. When I see a negative under a radical, it comes out and we put an I. I also know the square root of 4 is 2. So this becomes negative 2 plus or minus 2i over 4. And finally, if I look, I have a 2, and a 4. They're all divisible by 2. So negative 1 plus or minus I over 2. And if you want, you can put a 1 in front of that I. Again, please make sure that if you have any questions, you write them down and either email me or ask me next time you see me in class.